Thanks, guys. So I guess you got the basic intro to who I am and my title and all that. So I'll just cut to the chase of part of the reason why I was so interested in working with Endemol. And when Will Keenan asked me to join the team, was the global aspect. And the global aspect's been a large part of my life. I'm multi-ethnic. I've lived in many parts of the world. I speak a few languages. In fact, the last couple of months at Endemol, I've spent traveling a lot to various parts of Europe, et cetera, working with different partners. And that global part of it is what really interested me. And so what I'm going to talk about today is basically how youth culture has essentially been globalized. And I've been working in youth culture for years, you know, MTV, indie films, et cetera. So my story is going to be basically about that. So let's see how this works here. Okay. So I'll start with my early inspirations. Yesterday they asked me, we're all in this group meeting, it's sort of a workshop, and they said, what did you want to do when you were 8? And to be honest, I can barely remember what I did last year. You know, it's like maybe that's years of living in New York and, you know, whatever. But anyways, I can't barely remember that far back. But when I thought about it, I said, well, it was definitely art and music, but also there was a math part, a science part that I was really attracted to. And thank you. And I actually think the two are the same. When you look at a cell and you look closely at a cell, it's, to me, I mean, it looks like art, right? Or when you think about music, I'm a musician. That's math. Editing, when I work with editors, that's math. They say 10% shorter, right? So everything is math. So if I do this right, my talk's going to essentially take one of my favorite parts of math, which is a circle. And the idea is, I think, that everything is circular. Even though a lot of times it seems like it's a straight line, a lot of things are circular. The way you meet people is circular. I meet this group, you introduce me to another group, and so on and so on. And when I used to do Real World and Road Rules, we used to have this thing where things will go in circles, conversations will go in circles. Usually people will talk about a subject at least 3 times. So that allows me to get my wide shot, my close-up, whatever, because I know you're going to say it again. You're going to tell me how much you hate her and how jealous you are of so-and-so, whatever. You're going to say it 3 times. So that's math, right? So everything goes in circles. The way you meet people goes in circles. So one of the most interesting things when they asked me if I would speak here, I was like, well, who am I speaking to? I always like to know what the purpose is. And they said, well, there's no real objective other than you sharing something very personal and just, you know, being yourself. And I was like, oh, that's cool, because usually I'm selling something, right? So, okay, this is nice. And I always liked TED Talks, and it sounded like, oh, it could be sort of like a TED Talk. So this idea of like thinking back on what was my earliest inspirations, and one of the things I used to obsess on when I was a kid was how people knew each other. When you'd see someone famous and you'd see them hanging out, and you're like, wait, how do they know each other? Why are they hanging out, right? So being obsessive compulsive and being a visual person, I'm going to start with a barrage of slides, which may feel assaultive, but at least be entertaining. Okay. So here we go. Okay, one of my early inspirations, action sports. I grew up skateboarding and surfing. This is somebody who just recently passed away, very famous if you know skateboarding. Another inspiration, when I was a kid, I used to always like to draw that, or try to draw it. The Leonardo da Vinci thing with the guy with like, the arms. And I always used to wonder, how did he know all these people, right? Because he's like the ultimate in terms of baller and knowing people. I mean, he hung out with Machiavelli. I mean, that's pretty hardcore, right? He made crazy weapons, like, I mean, he did amazing art. He hung out with like royalty. and I always wondered, how do these people know each other, right? Another early inspiration, global, things outside of America. Even though I'm American, I was always attracted to things that weren't. One of my idols, Serge Gainsbourg, if you guys know who he is. Music. And this was my ultimate inspiration. When I was a teenager, I read the book. And I don't know if anyone here, has anyone here read this book? No? It's literally about that thick. It's like this thick. It's probably about 500 pages, I think. And it's literally his diaries. It's like, today I took a cab. Literally, and how much he paid for the cab. But usually it was something amazing like, oh, I hung out with, Halston and so-and-so at Studio 54. But it was very minimal, and he just sort of recorded his life. And again, same thing. I was like, how does he know all these people? How does everyone know each other? This is weird. Like that. They just all are there. They're just hanging out. How do they all know each other? So, circles. That's me. That's my throwback Thursday. The little teenage punk rock me. This is when I was really obsessed with trying to figure out the world and how it worked. Okay, so this is going to be part of the circles and tangents. I was at the China Club in New York, and I was going to this party, and I was probably maybe like early 20s, and it was a Gus Van Sant was having a party, and it was really intimate and small, and he was there. We met at the foyer. You guys know who he is, right? Okay. So before I met with him, I was inside. It was River Phoenix when he was alive. Gus Van Sant. River Phoenix had dark glasses on, like that. And this was pretty much because how I found these photos was I did China Club, New York, Gus Van Sant. I put all their names in, and this photo came up. Pretty cool, right? So that was the first sort of inkling of it. I was like, oh, okay, I see. And Matt Dillon was there, and John Waters, and literally it was China Club bar. I don't know. Will probably remembers China Club, but the bar was probably maybe a sliver of this. And so anyway, so the fact that I met all those people in one night, I was like, this is weird. So art, indie film, MTV, action sports, comedy, the club scene, music, fashion, globalization. Those are sort of the core of what my whole career has been about. I started off painting and sculpture, then I did video art, then I did film, then I did TV, music videos, commercials, and now I do digital. But at the core, this was it. When I boil it down, that's what I did. Anyone know who that is? No. No, anyone? Joe D'Alessandro. He is one of Andy Warhol's biggest stars. And at the time, everyone thought, oh, he's really beautiful, and but he was a street hustler. And he didn't really have, he was an actor, but he wasn't really a great actor. And the reason I bring this up, not just because of Keanu, but the idea is this was sort of the beginning of sort of like, females have always been sort of fetishized for their beauty and whatever. And this was sort of the beginning of that, I think. Kenneth Anger, one of my directing idols. I don't know if anyone knows who he is, but he inspired a lot of directors, from Martin Scorsese, David Lynch, tons of directors. So this guy, that's Kenneth Anger on the end, who I ended up meeting in Paris. We were in a film festival together at Le Cinémathèque Française. So everything started kind of coming together, like I said, in circles. And that's James Franco, who always seems to know where to be at the right time. Sundance. Then I went on to Sundance doing that world, the film festivals. Todd Haynes. Do you guys know who Todd Haynes is, the director? He did Velvet Goldmine. He did Mildred Pierce for HBO. Let's see, what else did he do? You guys would know. No, that's Todd Solondz.
I'm not there.
What?
I'm not there.
Yeah, exactly, the Bob Dylan movie. So he and Christine Vachon, who did Boys Don't Cry, they gave me the first funds to make my movie. So if I was a kid, like I was back then, and I was sitting here listening to it, I'd be like, how did this all happen, right? It happens. So then I became friends with my friend Gaspar Noé, who who is in the back who knew that, you probably know who he is, right? There you go. Good taste. So we became good friends in Paris because we liked each other's films, and yeah. So here's where I'm going with this, my weird circular talk. So Neurotica is something that we're working on potentially at Endemol, and I think this is the digital version of that, of those types of cool, scripted, edgy, provocative, intelligent, artistic stuff. And this is a still from the first season of it. And this is what he was talking about, Oh You Pretty Things. This is the scripted thing I did at Maker. And Francesca Eastwood in the middle just got nominated for a Streamy, which is the sort of digital, what would you guys call the Streamy? Like digital, what? Digital Emmys, maybe? Yeah. That's her on the left. This is the party we had at the Roosevelt in Hollywood. Her brother Scott, who's kind of blowing up right now, in the middle. MTV. I did this show called Real World Road Rules Challenge. People scantily clothed, always works, right? Then I did this show, Viva La Bam. That was my first big show that I did. I did the sizzle reel, which for those of you who don't know what sizzle reel, it's basically a proof of concept. I did the pilot and the first season, and it became a huge hit. It went on for like 5 cycles. And so that sort of combined a lot of things I liked, like comedy, music. He has really good taste in music. And what else? Oh, action sports. And style to some degree, right? And this is what I think is the modern equivalent of it. Prank versus prank. Do you guys know who they are? No? In the back. It's always in the back. So they're a couple, and they basically do sort of jackassy, funny sort of pranks on each other. So this is sort of, I'm sort of connecting the through line of all these things to the digital versions. Okay, so these are the MagCon kids, and unless you're a 12-year-old girl, you probably don't know who they are. But essentially, this is, again, my circular pattern. These guys, to be quite honest, aren't that talented. They're not. But to a 13-year-old girl, they're very talented and looks. So they're extremely popular. They're Viners, and literally they command like large venues by literally doing nothing, except for one kid on the left, Shawn Mendes, who I'll tell you about later. So this is what the little girls are looking at. Action sports. This is my friend Danny Fuller. He's a pro surfer, and I shot a show with him for the WB called Boarding House, and he's one of the best big wave surfers in the world, and he's currently the face of Chanel for their men's fragrance. So if you drive down Sunset Boulevard, you see his face. It's been up there for like 3 months, I think. That's his beautiful wife, Tori Praver, SI, swimsuit model and Billabong model. And that's them with, I think, Lance Bass or something. And Matt Dillon. See, it's coming together. It's coming together. Matt Dillon, he was there at the China Club. It's all coming together, right? Sort of. And there's me and Danny at the show. coming together, right? How do all these people know each other? Danny Cass, another friend of mine, pro snowboarder. He had a show called Danny and Dingo on Fuel TV. Probably, unless you're 15 or were a 15-year-old boy about 7 years ago, probably wouldn't ring a bell. But to them, he's really cool. Oh, the other thing too, people always say, oh, you know, I've always done youth culture things, and you know, people say, oh, why are you so good at it? And I think it's, you know, pretty much owned to the fact that I'm sort of frozen in time at 14 emotionally. So personally, in relationships, it's not very good, but it's done very well for me career-wise. Rodney Mullen, another good friend of mine, one of the most amazing skateboarders of all time. Rodney. Another friend of mine, Chad Muska, big skateboarder. I did a show, which I'm about to show you, for MTV. There's us early in the morning before we're about to shoot. This is the show. It's called Random Hero. And another friend of ours was in it, Ryan Dunn, who passed away. Actually, there's Ryan. And this is the cool part. So my friend Tyler and I came up with this idea at this bar in Brooklyn. See, it's coming around. So again, circles, bars. And so we came up to with this idea literally on a napkin, and like, oh wow, how cool would it be if we got 2 planes and you created ramps around the planes and then you jump from one plane to the next. And we're like, how are we going to find these planes? And I'm like, I don't know, but we're going to do it. So sold that idea to MTV. We found the planes. There's apparently a plane graveyard in the desert. And this is funny right here if you read that. What does it say? I got 6 more chips on my Metro card, kid. I think because we were trying to figure out how he was going to get home. And this is how, okay, wait, this is cool, hold on. Okay, so that's what our thought was. We came up with this idea, and then the coolest thing about creating stuff, whether it's TV or film or digital, is having an idea and then executing it. And that's the hardest part. Lots of people have great ideas, but not everyone executes them. That's the hard part. So literally, we drew this, and this is what it became. So there's ramps on the wings. You come out from the door on the side. There's Chad Muska on the top. The legal guy was going crazy. Actually, he just passed away last week, but he was going crazy. He's like, get down, get down. I was like, what? And I was literally like running around, like wherever he went, I like left, because I knew that if I listened to him, he'd have to go down. So I got around that. Okay, this is what it looks like going down the wing. Comedy, Margaret Cho. Completely opposite of that, right? She's another good friend of mine. Tried to get a show for her on TV, which seemed almost impossible. Bravo, maybe, that makes sense. But we got a show on VH1, The Cho Show, which was pretty cool, and it actually got a lot of awards and stuff. And VH1's like first real good critical notice from the New York Times, which was cool. Nick Kroll, another guy, I don't know if you guys recognize him, but he's somebody I worked with on shows for MTV. Now has his own show, very popular, Comedy Central. Andy Milonakis, Riff Raff, Simon Rex. I work with Simon Rex and Andy. And then here's our star right now, who we're working with, who's, I think, the modern equivalent of all that, Brittany Ferlin. Really funny. And she has that same kind of dude humor, but she's female, obviously. And then Ed Bassmaster. Whoops. Tech support. Yeah. Okay, Ed Bassmaster, really huge on YouTube. How many of you guys do you guys watch YouTube videos? Do people here watch YouTube videos? Yeah? Okay, so do any of these people sort of have you seen or heard of any of these people? Yeah? Okay, cool. I just want to make sure I'm not like boring you. Okay, this is a series I did with Margaret. We had this idea. Have any of you guys seen Strangers with Candy? Yeah. Okay, so we were like, let's do something like Strangers with Candy. So, and this was pre-Orange is the New Black. So the idea was she and a group of her friends were going to be living in a halfway house, having recently got out of prison. And so it was about this group of women. And so we did this show. That's my friend JP, who's played her boyfriend Bobby. Do you guys ever see 6 Feet Under? Yeah. Do you remember the tweaker guy who is ripped with all the tattoos? Yeah, okay, see he was, that was him. And he's done a bunch of other stuff. The club scene, I'll go through this quickly since we're running out of time. This is New York. This is a huge influence on my life. I'll go through that quickly. You get it. You understand. Black Flag, punk rock. And then this is Shawn Mendes. I think he's extremely talented. He's the one kid out of all those pretty boys who's actually really talented. He put out an EP 3 weeks ago, and about 4 weeks ago, I was talking to Will. I was like, we got to get this kid. We got to get this kid. He's going to be huge. So three weeks ago, he put out his EP. It went to #1 on iTunes in 35 minutes, all because of those 12 and 14-year-old girls. I mean, he is talented too, though. He actually is talented. There's the prerequisite selfie. And this guy's amazing too, Ben Khan. He's half Indian, half English. He's from London, amazing music. So those are the people I think are kind of relevant today in music. The fashion world, I'll go through this quickly, and that's my friend Ryan. He was one of the first big male models in the mid-2000s. He was the face of Gucci and Nautica, and sort of started that trend of male models starting to become like female models in the sense they were stars too. Y3, the fusion of sports with fashion. Y3 is Adidas, designed by Yohji Yamamoto, which is one of the most well-respected fashion designers in the world. I usually get invited to the show every year. That's me backstage. And there's me with the model bookers. Okay, Tavi, so interesting. Okay, this is her when she was 12. I met her backstage at the Zach Posen show, and she was with her dad, and her hair was gray then. She made it gray. That was the trend in 2006. She was 12. She was a fashion blogger. Okay, that's crazy. And I kept looking at her. It's like, how can she be doing this? This is so weird. Is it weird that she's with her dad and she's doing this and she's backstage? It was Lil' Kim. I was with Lil' Kim, and it was Zach Posen. And she became super influential. She has this thing called Rookie. There's her with Anna Wintour. She has a blog called Rookie, or a site actually called Rookie, which is really popular. And here she's evolved to the point where now she's an actor. She is in I forget what the film is. Anyways, she's in big films, and now she's even has a hit show on Broadway. So this 12-year-old blogger in the fashion world is now a huge ingenue, like major. Nasty Gal, probably some of you ladies know. What? Okay, all right. I think I started at 6:55 though. Okay, all right, Nasty Gal. Okay, sorry, Nasty Gal. Okay, Nasty Gal, I'll go quick. Nasty Gal, Globalization, coming full circle. Okay, this is my friend Kip Fulbeck. He's also what we call Hapa. We're both mixed, part Asian. And the influx of mixed people in the world is becoming huge, from Olympic athletes to actors, Olivia Munn, Dean Cain, Devin, Major, Steve Aoki, big DJ, Alexa Chung, she's like one of the biggest models right now, to the end. Here's the end. Okay. This is Mr. V. I've been following him since 2007. He's a huge YouTuber in France, multi-ethnic. He has almost, I think, over 2 million subscribers. This is Luthu. He's from Spain. He has 4 million subscribers, which is nuts. A network would be lucky to get 1 million, as a hit show. And then here is Mystery Guitar Man. You guys know him, right? He's from Brazil. So that's it, full circle. All right. Thanks very much, guys.